Mr. Chairman, did I understand you to say that the reconciliation bill is the most extraordinary legislation you've ever seen? Did I hear that correctly?
There may have been some lost in translation there.
I was a little late. Tell me what tell me what the bond market's telling you.
Bond market's fine now, functioning well. It's pricing, it's reacting to economic news. There's adequate liquidity. Rates have come down pretty significantly from where they were a couple months ago. So I think I think inflation expectations have come down a bit from April, and in general, the bond market is functioning well.
Okay. Explain to me why we have seen in the last few months weakness in the dollar.
That's a great question. Of course, the Treasury Department is responsible for the role of the dollar. So I don't know. I think I would go back to the thought that markets have been digesting an unusually challenging set of circumstances, and have reacted the way they've reacted. The dollar's kind of stabilized now. In fact, it's moved back up here in the last couple of weeks a bit. There are plenty of people who are still writing that the dollar is still overvalued. We don't have a view on that, of course, but I wouldn't really have an opinion on exactly why it is where it is.
Well, clearly there's a lot of geopolitical risk right now, which would lead one to conclude, all things being equal, that people would be flocking to the dollar and it would be stronger.
Well, you have seen some of that here in the last few days, but again, I don't really have an official view I'd like to share on that. I think there are possible explanations, multiple possible explanations. Again, one of which is that some people still feel the dollar is highly valued.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I want to talk for a few minutes about tariffs and inflation. What does history tell us about tariffs and its impact on inflation or deflation?
So the thing is, we've been through a long period in which tariffs were going down. Remember, since World War II, really, it's been a process of lowering tariffs globally. So there just isn't a lot of modern learning on that. I think people look at the incidence of tariffs during the president's first term, but those were like 1/6 the size of what's people are estimating now. And they do find some effects on inflation. But remember, in 2019, when those tariffs were put into place, the economy was slowing. We actually cut rates 3 times. Inflation was running at 1.5%. So it was a very different time. This is different. I think one of the reasons why it's so challenging is that there really isn't a modern precedent. And I think we have to be humble about our estimates. And we are very open to the possibility that transmission through into inflation will be less than we think, or maybe more than we think, which is why we're in a position of wanting to take our time and make a smart decision as we see how this unfolds.
Well, obviously the size of the tariffs makes a difference, does it not?
It does.
And we don't know yet the size of the tariffs.
We don't. And we don't have a view on any of the merits at all. That's not our job. Our job is inflation, as you know, and maximum employment.
Will it also matter? Let's assume that there is upward price pressure. Would it matter how much businesses decide to pass on versus just eat? Does that make sense?
Yes, that matters. That is what matters. The question is, who's going to pay for the tariffs? Originally, it's the importer, but it gets passed along through the distribution chain to some extent to the consumer. The ultimate question of it is how much of it does show up in inflation. And honestly, it's very hard to predict that in advance. So we're watching to see, what shows up in measured inflation.
If the president's trade negotiators pursue reciprocity, which I define as both sides reducing, in a quid pro quo, reducing tariffs and trade barriers as much as possible. Ideally, in a perfect world, we would end up with two sides with zero tariffs and zero trade barriers. Would that be inflationary?
No, not at all.
That would cause the economy to roar, wouldn't it?
I think it would be.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your endorsement, Mr. Chairman, of the reconciliation bill.